Have you ever told a tiny lie because the truth felt too painful to say out loud? Maybe it wasn't to fool someone forever. Maybe it was just to protect the heart of a person you loved. Sometimes the smallest secret carries the biggest weight. This is the story of a woman who whispered 7 heartbreaking words that changed 2 lives forever. Please don't tell my mother I'm single. What happened next wasn't about romance alone. It was about compassion, respect, and the incredible power of choosing kindness when it would have been easier to walk away. Before we begin, if stories about kindness, hope, and second chances touch your heart, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to spread kindness, and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Your support helps us share more stories that remind people goodness still exists in the world. Emily was 34 years old and lived alone in a small apartment in Chicago. She had a steady job as a nurse, worked long shifts, and spent most of her free time taking care of other people. She smiled often at work, but when she came home, the silence reminded her that life had not gone the way she once imagined. Her mother, Linda, had been battling cancer for over a year. The treatments were exhausting, but Linda never lost her gentle spirit. There was only one thing that worried her more than her illness. She feared Emily would spend her whole life alone. Every hospital visit ended with the same question. Have you met someone special yet? Emily always smiled and changed the subject. One rainy afternoon, Emily stopped at a neighborhood coffee shop after visiting the hospital. She looked exhausted. As she reached for her wallet, she realized she had forgotten it at work. I'm sorry, she said quietly. I'll come back later. Before the cashier could answer, a man standing behind her stepped forward. I've got it. Emily turned around. No, you don't have to. It's just coffee, he said with a warm smile. Everyone deserves coffee after a hard day. His name was Daniel, a middle school history teacher with kind eyes and a calm voice. They sat together for a few minutes, talking about ordinary things. There was no pressure, no awkward flirting, just 2 strangers sharing a conversation that somehow felt familiar. Over the next few weeks, they happened to meet again several times at the same coffee shop. Eventually they became friends. One evening, Emily received a call from the hospital. Her mother's condition had suddenly become worse. Emily rushed there and found Linda weak but smiling. Who's that handsome young man you've mentioned from the coffee shop? Linda asked. Emily froze. She had casually mentioned Daniel once, hoping to make her mother smile. Linda had assumed they were dating. Emily didn't have the heart to correct her. The next day, Emily called Daniel. I need to ask you something strange. Daniel laughed softly. I'm listening. She hesitated before speaking. My mom thinks we're together. Silence filled the phone. Finally she whispered, please don't tell my mother I'm single. Daniel didn't answer immediately. Instead he simply asked, how sick is she? Emily's voice broke. The doctors don't know how much time she has. Daniel closed his eyes. I'll come. You don't have to. I know, he replied gently. But maybe your mom needs hope more than explanations. That afternoon Daniel walked into Linda's hospital room carrying a bouquet of yellow flowers. Linda's face lit up brighter than Emily had seen in months. So you're the young man stealing my daughter's heart. Daniel smiled. I'm trying my best to deserve her friendship. He never claimed to be her boyfriend. He never lied. He simply allowed Linda to believe what brought her peace. Over the following weeks, Daniel visited often. Sometimes he read books aloud while Linda rested. Sometimes he brought homemade soup. Other times he simply listened as Linda shared stories about Emily's childhood. Emily watched in amazement. Daniel wasn't pretending. He genuinely cared. One evening after visiting hours, Emily apologized. I'm so sorry you got pulled into all this. Daniel shook his head. You know what I've learned from teaching kids? Sometimes people don't need someone to fix their problems. They just need someone willing to stay. Those words stayed with Emily. As the weeks passed, Daniel became part of their lives. Hospital staff assumed he was family because he was always there. He celebrated every tiny improvement and encouraged Linda through every difficult treatment. One afternoon Linda asked Daniel to step closer. "If I leave before Emily finds happiness, promise me you won't let her believe she's alone." Daniel looked at Emily. Then he looked back at Linda. "I promise." Emily couldn't stop the tears. For the first time in years, she realized kindness wasn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it looked like showing up. Again and again. Without expecting anything in return. Months later, Linda's health slowly improved. The treatments began working better than anyone expected. She was finally strong enough to return home. One Sunday afternoon she surprised Emily with a smile. "I have something to confess." Emily's heart raced. "I knew." "You knew?" Linda laughed softly. "I'm a mother. I knew you two weren't really dating in the beginning." Emily stared in disbelief. "Then why didn't you say anything?" Linda reached for her daughter's hand. "Because I wasn't watching a performance. I was watching two good people discover each other's hearts." Daniel, who had been helping in the kitchen, overheard the conversation. He walked into the room looking embarrassed. Linda smiled at him. "You stayed when you didn't have to." Daniel nodded. She deserved someone in her corner. Linda looked at both of them. Kindness has a funny way of bringing people exactly where they belong. Life returned to normal after that, but something had changed. Emily and Daniel continued spending time together. There was no pretending anymore. No secrets. No pressure. Just friendship growing into something deeper with every shared meal, every long walk, and every quiet conversation. Nearly a year later, Daniel invited Emily back to the same little coffee shop where they had first met. He placed 2 cups on the table. "I bought your coffee once because you forgot your wallet." Emily laughed. "I remember." He reached into his pocket. "This time I'm hoping you'll let me keep buying coffee for the rest of our lives." With tears filling her eyes, Emily whispered the easiest answer she had ever given. "Yes." Linda cried even harder than Emily did when she heard the news. She hugged Daniel tightly. "I always prayed my daughter would find someone kind." Daniel smiled. "I was just trying to help." Linda shook her head. "No. You chose kindness when nobody expected it. That's much rarer. The greatest acts of kindness are often invisible to the world. They happen in hospital rooms, over cups of coffee, during quiet conversations, and in moments when someone decides not to walk away. We may never know how deeply a simple act of compassion can change another person's life. One gentle choice can become someone else's reason to hope again. So wherever you are today, choose patience over judgment, understanding over assumptions, and kindness over convenience. You never know whose heart is quietly whispering for someone to stay. And sometimes, staying is the greatest gift you can ever give.